This conference will now be recorded.
And the first order of business is public comments. If there's anybody that would like the opportunity to speak, this is your time. We'll probably have some time at the end too, but
I think Anita wanted me to give a quick update on Rucks on Main. That's an event that we hold in Temple twice a year, Memorial Day and Veterans Day. So we had the Veterans Day March on Saturday, and we had not the highest number of people turn out. We had 103 marchers. We've had more in the past, but we had more donations than we've ever had. We had a raffle, collected over $1,000. We had 10,000 pounds of food that were donated to go to Operation Killeen-Temple. I always blank on the name of the church, but it's a church in Temple that runs the operation and delivers the supplies to the food pantry. So our previous record was 8,000 pounds. We blew past that with 10,000 pounds collected. And then the marchers, they walk through downtown Temple, up Main Street, through the historic neighborhood. They start and end in Santa Fe Plaza. And it's always a great time. If you haven't been, love to have you come out and march. I'm one of the board of directors. And if you can't march or unable, certainly come out, bring your donations, and cheer the folks on when they come across the finish line. It's a great thing to see. Shameless plug, and a big thank you to the community that did come out, that did donate, that did participate. That's great.
Thank you.
right, the first action item is approval of the minutes from August 13th, 2025. We've had a chance to look at them. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
That's everybody, right? Okay. All right. The next action item is recommendation of 2026 stakeholder engagement schedule and supporting resolution, and Anita is gonna.
Thank you so very much. Did y'all have an opportunity to look at the 2026 schedule of events? I did add in Unplugged Texas on that.
Good.
So we have that in there. We will have the Rite of Silence, of course, all things related to National Bike Month in May. The Pedestrian Safety Month is also in October. I went ahead and added in National Trails Day back. So I thought that we had a good response for that this past year. And here's some opportunities. Baderstock and White McLean's bike rodeo, that is pending. They've got some construction happening, and so they're not quite sure if they're going to be able to host that this year. But what I'm super excited about is the city of Coppers Cove. I'm going to go to that one. They're doing an adaptive bike rodeo. And so that's going to be super fun over at the Ogletree Gap Preserve. That's going to be going in a direction that we've never gone before, an adaptive bike rodeo. They'll provide helmets, and I'm not quite sure if they're going to be gifting socks and wrist and knee and elbow pads, but that might be something that they're looking forward to doing. I've connected them with some resources that have helped other projects. They're reaching out to the Children McLean's Foundation and hopefully partnering with them. But to go back up to this right here, the Walk, Bike, and Roll to School, there's an opportunity there. In the past, we have not had an event for that particular activity, but hopefully in 2026, we have a school that is near a subdivision that can really pull that off and make it a safe event. And if nothing else, perhaps we could do a safety day there. The Ride a Bike Day, everybody can ride a bike on Sunday, May 3rd. If you feel so inclined, you can Bike to Work Day on the May 15th. Bike to Work Week is all through beginning of May 11th through the end of the week. And then the annual Rite of Silence is May 20th. And I know Teresa, in the past, Nolanville has hosted that Rite of Silence. So these are all things to think about if y'all want to step back up and take another opportunity. create an activity for the community and the region. National Trails Day, we're going to have lots of opportunity there. The Pedestrian Safety Month, that's typically been an education piece, but maybe 2026 will be the year that we actually can host an activity. And then once again, we got Unplug Texas Day. And inside of your packet, there are resolutions. They're not attached here, but in those resolutions, there's, once again, opportunities for each of our cities and entities to host a project. Today, the action needed is to recommend approval of the stakeholder engagement schedule and supporting resolutions. Of course, we'll be filling in the actual activities at a later time, but if y'all think of anything else that you want to add to that, this would be the time now, because we'll start working on getting those on the agenda for the policy board, and starting in January I think it's February actually, for our next meeting, I'll try to have some of those dates filled in. Is there any conversation? Or?
I've got one question.
Yes, sir.
I'm not afraid of saying I don't know something, because that's when you learn. What is an adaptive bike rodeo?
I think it's for children with special needs.
Like
Yes.
Okay.
They might have a limb loss, or they might have some other diagnosis, that a mobility issue.
Trike instead of bike for balance issues.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I'm super excited about it, because in a lot of the regional active transportation plans that I've been reading, they do have that mentioned, and they actually have activities. So, and the city of Copper's Cove approached us to find out if there were any resources available. So I connected them and I asked them if they would be willing to change the date for Bike Month, and because they had it at a different month. So they were willing to do that. So I think it's going to be a big turnout. They had a citizen that approached them as well.
Would it be possible to ask Jeff or someone from his staff to kind of brief their plan?
Yes, they're still in the early stages of it. They just approached us like maybe a month ago. So we can add that to maybe the February agenda. How do you think about that?
Either a month or two before or a month or two after.
I think to make it for Bike Month in May, we're going to probably have to have that in February. That way we can all be on board and support them. So I'll ask them.
So in summary, you're looking for other cities or organizations, if they have something that supports one of these events, to contact you so you can put it on the schedule.
Yes.
And for right now, you just want the approval, someone to recommend approval of the stakeholder engagement and its resolutions.
Yes.
So is there anybody that has further comment or would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the stakeholder engagement schedule for 2026 and the supporting resolution.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is regarding a presentation on exploring intersection active transportation trail tourism as a strategy for sustainable regional development. And we're happy to welcome Kindra Greene from the Elizabeth River Trail for the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning. I want to apologize in advance for the spooky lighting. We had an electrical fire in my building and I am operating off of a generator. So doing the best I can. If I lose connectivity, I will do my very best to pop back on. But thank you so much for having me. I'm very passionate about this topic and I'm going to set a timer because I can chat about trails all day. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen and it's asking me to ask the organizer to make me a presenter. Or are you gonna share on your end? Okay, fantastic, thank you. Okay, alrighty. Okay, fantastic.
Kindra, can you hear us?
Yes.
I'm gonna do a quick introduction if you don't mind.
Please, please.
A couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to moderate a webinar for AMPO. And I reached out to Kindra, and she did a phenomenal job. And I was just really super thrilled about some of the insight and the way that she's approaching funding for her 10-mile trail. And so I reached out to her and asked her if she would be willing to share with us. I think what she's doing is innovative. It's outside the box. And to me, during this season of talk about the elephant in the room for a second, government shutdown, just this different approach is really stellar. And so you're going to find and experience her passion, her love, and her commitment to a walkable community. Take it away, Kindra.
Thank you, Anita. And everybody can see okay?
Yes.
Yes, fantastic. Okay, thank you so much. So I'm gonna just run through my slides and show you lots of beautiful pictures and try to capture as much as possible, but I'm really privileged to serve as the executive director of the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation in Norfolk, Virginia. We are a 10.5-mile urban trail in the heart of our city, and we say we have 10.5 miles with something for everyone. We really do offer a little bit of everything along our trail. So the Elizabeth River does, our trail intentionally follows the Elizabeth River by design because so much of our waterway is not accessible. If you know anything about Norfolk, a few things that you may know, we happen to be home to the largest naval station in the world, Naval Station Norfolk. We are home to a extremely large port, the Port of Virginia, otherwise known as Norfolk International Terminals. And then we have many universities along our corridor. So our trail, our physical trail itself is anchored by many major employers and economic generators, with Norfolk State University at its eastern terminus and the Port of Virginia at its northern terminus. We also have Old Dominion University right kind of in the center of our trail, along with our major medical complex, Centera, Eastern Virginia Medical School, historic Fort Norfolk, and then many cultural attractions, our maritime Science Museum, the USS Wisconsin, the Chrysler Museum, many cultural attractions throughout our trail. So that's just a bit of an overview. So anchored at one end, as I mentioned, by Norfolk State University, a historically Black college and university. Right outside of their campus is our trail terminus. And then in the center, as I mentioned, Old Dominion University, attracting a huge international population of students. And again, some highlights that are just quintessentially Norfolk. That's our battleship USS Wisconsin, and some trail users riding right in front of it. We say that history is really at your fingertips along our trail. And then I love this picture because this is the heart of Norfolk. We've got our changing, working waterfront every single day. You can stand in the same place and always have a different view. You've got destroyers and tugs and sailboats and freights all moving along our water, constantly changing, cranes operating in the background, all kinds of things. And then, of course, our city does really rally around, being a waterfront city with a trail running along our attractions, our restaurants and eateries and markets and that type of thing. So the trail itself, we always say, serves as so much more than just a trail. It is a place-making asset. And I know placemaking was kind of a big buzzword, I don't know, 10 years ago, but it's really true. It really serves as the cultural and historical storyteller of our region. And I think I need to tell you a little bit about why our foundation is here and what we do. So Our foundation's still fairly young. We actually on Saturday will have our 9th birthday on November 15th. In the first 2 years of the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation were entirely volunteer run. And that was just an idea, a vision to get this trail that loosely connected 28 neighborhoods off the ground. And the reason why our foundation formed is like many urban centers, Norfolk was struggling with talent attraction and retention. We have those 2 universities that I mentioned right in our city, but we were losing our brightest and greatest to other cities. So we were experiencing brain drain, right? We were educating our students, they were not staying in the area. And we were having, as a city, just difficulty attracting, employers and businesses. So the Greater Norfolk Corporation, which serves as a bit of an economic development arm for our city, started asking all of the business community, what can we do? What's our situation? What's the problem? How do we fix this? What are other cities doing? And the director of that foundation at the time was really insightful, and he started looking around the room and he realized that everyone in the room kind of had the same demographic, same age, same employment background, same race, same socioeconomic background. And he said, why don't we ask people that don't look like us? And why don't we look at the younger generation of entrepreneurs and see what needs to happen? So they did, and they went to, again, some of our up and coming tech companies, some bright architects and urban planners in our city. And the answer was clear. They said, you've got the answer right here. It's the Elizabeth River Trail. You just need to activate it and enhance it. And that's gonna make all the difference. So from there, the Elizabeth River Trail Foundation was born. And again, 2 years, all volunteers. And it was those young entrepreneurs that really took this vision and started a capital campaign and went to the business community. And we went to that medical complex, that big Centera medical complex, and pitched this idea of enhancing and activating this 10.5-mile trail. And yes, you would think that the medical complex would say, sure, that's great for physical health, which they did, but that was not the reason why they invested. They invested in the trail because they needed to hire 1,000 nurses over the next 5 years. And the reason why they felt like they could hire 1,000 nurses was with a trail, because 77% of people, when they're looking to relocate to an area, they are looking at walkability and access to trails. So I'm really pleased to say that volunteer group put in the hard work, started a capital campaign, got the business community to buy in, and then we started hiring first executive director, and I had the privilege to kind of take it on from there. So through that, we were enhancing the trail, placemaking, physical and mental health and wellness. Yes, it's outdoor recreation, but as you all know, it's transportation too. It's both, right? It's outdoor recreation and transportation. It's infrastructure for our city. And then through some of the major challenges and issues that we deal with as a city, if you don't know, Norfolk is second only to New Orleans for sea level rise on the East Coast. We are on the river. We are at the front doorstep of that. So we look at how do we use the trail to look at environmental sustainability and resilience, economic and workforce development, and I'll talk more about equity and social determinants of health in a minute. So that initial comprehensive campaign raised over $4 million, both from corporate and business community members and individual donors, really committing to activate and enhance this 10.5-mile trail. So you can see this comprehensive campaign launched in 2016. This was updated in 2020. And this allowed us to then take what was a loosely connected trail and make it alive. And that meant adding amenities. I share our mission statement as it stands today. You can imagine that it has evolved, gone through several iterations in the last 9 years. But right now, what our foundation does is we plan, program, and advocate for the trail to connect Naval Station Norfolk to the Virginia Beach Trail. Norfolk and Virginia Beach border each other, and the Virginia Beach neighbor is working so hard on a trail that's going to go all the way to the ocean front. We need to connect to them. So that was always the plan, even though our 10.5 miles right now is Port of Virginia here in the Greene to Norfolk State. You can see this map from 2015 when those great minds were thinking was always to connect our naval station to Virginia Beach. So this isn't a new idea. It's always part of that regional connection. As transportation professionals, you know that we don't build roads that don't connect, that don't go anywhere. Why would we build a trail that doesn't connect regionally? We have amazing numbers and stats from the Rails to Trails Conservancy that says when trails connect regionally, the usage grows by 80% and the economic return on investment quadruples. So I'm going to have you stick that little stat in your brain for a second about the economic return on investment, and I'll tell you some numbers here shortly. So on the left, you'll see our current connected 10.5 miles. Again, 28 neighborhoods are connected within a 5-minute walk of the trail. We run through 3 different city wards and 2 super wards, and Norfolk is an old city. It's an urban city. It bears the scars of segregation and different socioeconomic disparities. Our trail literally runs into redlining, and we see that. One end of the trail looks very different than the other end of the trail. And we believe as a foundation that the trail is equity. It has the opportunity to break down those historically divisive and intentionally divisive infrastructure, like divisive roads that kept some of these formerly redlined and underserved neighborhoods from accessing all of those economic development opportunities and workforce centers. So again, our foundation really truly believes that everyone deserves access to green space, and trails transform communities. And that is my passionate mission and what I work on every day. And then we have, of course, the Blue Way, which we're starting to build out. How do we activate our water more? We currently have 2 activated ADA accessible kayak launches, with one under construction up here on our northern end. We had a ribbon cutting for this trailhead yesterday, and the kayak launch is under construction and will hopefully be ready to launch boats this spring, or next spring, 2026. Okay, so building out and enhancing the trail meant activating our very limited green space that we have in this urban center, enhancing it and drawing people into this sanctuary so that they could see parts of Norfolk that they may never have seen before. This was our first trailhead. This is Plum Point Park. The water, if you're standing here and you look across the water, you're seeing Portsmouth, which is our neighboring city. And there's a tunnel. There's so many tunnels here, but there's a tunnel that people drive through to get from Norfolk to Portsmouth. When that tunnel was constructed, the spoils of that tunnel dig were dumped into this area. This was a dump site. So through years and years of renovation, this is now a flourishing green space and a beloved park and our first trailhead. The Elizabeth River Trail also serves as the backbone for the Norfolk Innovation Corridor, or the NIC. I mentioned the Greater Norfolk Corporation, which was the economic development nonprofit that spun our organization off. And after we had some mild success in the first couple years. They also then formed the Norfolk Innovation Corridor as a nonprofit. And that organization is really designed to form a vibrant technology zone. So looking at what's already in place in Norfolk, clustering these center, the Eastern Virginia Medical School, the robotics labs, analytics, et cetera, to again attract technology businesses to our corridor, with the draw that the trail is right there. Okay, so this is just, I'm going to go through our slides real quickly. These are beautiful pictures. I get to share all of our signage and branding and didactic signs, interpretive signs, public art. These are all of the investments that that capital campaign was able to enhance. This is a ADA accessible picnic tables, trailhead shelters, double turbo obstacle course. We serve a huge military population here. This is always in use. We have play structures for the kiddos. This is the glow line. This is our is a signature amenity. Last Saturday was the glow party, the 4th annual glow party. And this serves a distinct purpose. It's beautiful and artistic and fun, but it also serves a real lighting solution for us. Our trail is open 24/7, just like roads are. People commute through our city parks. Oh my gosh, that's my timer. That means I've taken up a lot of time. So I'll share that while parks are closed from dusk to dawn, the trail is open 24/7. So we looked at a solution that would light the trail so that our commuters could navigate it and not light the park, and also protect the bird sanctuary at the other end of this park and the flyover for our migrating birds. So this is a beautiful amenity. This is our kayak launch. We provide lots of programming as well, 100 programs a year. And one of them is Spinclusion. I heard you talking earlier about adaptive bikes. This is our adaptive bike program. These are adaptive bikes and trikes for folks that are seniors or differently abled and can't pedal on their own. They are piloted by people that ride the individuals along, and everyone has the right to wind in their hair. We do tons of pop-up events, like a pop-up roller rink, lots of fitness events for youth. This was our Olympic event during the Olympic year. We have tons of bike repair stations, yoga for everybody. And then, of course, we are very focused on our military community. So in that, I emphasize that we're a nonprofit. I don't want to make it appear that fundraising is easy, it's tough, but we look at all of the grant opportunities there are, and there's opportunities for the military to spend money outside of the base, because this impacts the quality of life for their military personnel. We do storytelling of our underserved communities, where we're talking about living history. We have an audio podcast, Truth Be Told. And then I want to linger a little bit on the United Way. We partner with the United Way. We've been really blessed. We went through our first audit 2 years ago, which allowed us to be a certified agency with our United Way partners. That allowed us to be on this, incredible list where people could choose us to give to their annual campaigns. And it also allows us to the opportunity for programmatic funding. So while the United Way is generally known for, housing and feeding, going back again to the trail as equity and as an essential benefit for the community, we appeal to the United Way saying we are helping with mental health. We do everything we do, we tie in the mental health element with all of our programming. What is your feeling before this event, and what is your feeling after, using the feelings wheel. We talk about the just emotional support in walking with someone, having a walking buddy. We do this with everything that we get people out on the trail to do, and we've been blessed to have some programmatic funding with the United Way. And I want to mention too that through that we are in a coastal community. There was a wooden boat program where once the wooden boats outlived their useful life, we were able to get a hold of a wooden boat. We converted that wooden boat into a community needs pantry and created a pop-up park, a pocket park on our trail. And we stock this every single month: personal hygiene goods, canned food, during our huge government shutdown that we're dealing with right now. And as we lead up to the holiday season, we are stocking this pantry. So you can see it over here. This is a pocket park we designed with the community. It has a little free library, a covered bench, an herb garden. We grow scuppernong and muscadine grapes there. I feel like I'm talking too much. And then quickly just connecting to our Virginia Beach Trail. It's essential that we have to connect with our sister city in Virginia Beach regionally, so that we can go from the naval station to the ocean front for a fully connected 41-mile trail. So post capital campaign, I've had the pleasure of working on that fundraising from 2021 to present, and people they see the value of this. We average 670,000 trail interactions per year, and our return on investment for the city right now gives us $150,000 a year as part of an outside agency's grant. We provide $19 million in economic impact to the city of Norfolk. And we were just awarded in June the coveted honor from the Department of Interior as a national recreation trail by the National Park Service. So very exciting. Always love to leave you with a dog photo and some information on how you can learn more about us. We have lots of information on our website, including our most recent Foundation Impact Report, which goes into much more granular detail on funding and numbers.
Congratulations, what an extraordinary project.
Thank you.
Your demographic base is about the same size as ours, 250,000 people or so. Can you guess what the timeline of the project has been from conception to now?
Sure. So the trail, there's the physical trail and there's the foundation. So the physical trail has been in place since about, it was a vision from 30 years ago where one of the communities wanted to understand how to shine a light on historic Fort Norfolk, the historic Norfolk Historic Preservation Society, and also figure out how to access our waterfront, get to downtown. So there was always sort of a vision for it, and those are the folks whose shoulders I stand on, right? There was always a vision. And then in 2003, we are a true rail to trail. There was a section of our Norfolk Southern rail line that after many failed attempts, we did get Norfolk Southern to provide the city of Norfolk with our first spur of abandoned rail line. So that really started, that's around the Plum Point Park area, that first trailhead that I mentioned. So that was the first and actually only federal funding that the trail has received, and that was in 2003. So that started a little bit of just the physical build out and connection, rerouting some of the infrastructure. And there was a friends group that had, very loosely signed Friends of the Elizabeth River Trail. There was maybe 10 signs in the 10 miles, kind of like a pelican, not very branded. And no one really knew how to get to the trail. So it was, again, the foundation was formed in 2016. The funds were raised, and I would say from 2018 to present has been the implementation of the activation and enhancement of all of those things. So the wayfinding, the branding, the amenities placement. So just a series of small successes that has allowed us to get to where we're at. And I'm a staff of two. I've been a staff of two or less. And so at large, I mean, we're blessed that our master planning, our trail looks the way it does and has been as successful as it has been because our master planning committee is made up of subject matter experts. Our chair is one of those young entrepreneurs that they asked in 2016. She owns her own architecture firm, urban planners, landscape architects, transportation experts, and they have given countless hours and in-kind engineering design and time and planning to design and implement this project. If that answers your question.
Anybody else that has questions for Kendra?
I do, Kindra. You had mentioned that feeling wheel and doing the survey before and after. Are those for activities? How does that work, and how do you apply that to the ROI?
Yeah. Thank you so much for asking that. Yes. So, yes. So for every program that we do on the trail, we have series programs, which would be our the Spinclusion program I mentioned, where we are giving the adaptive rides. We have educational, historical, and botanical tours that we have a whole series that happens from March to November. We have the African American cultural tours that happen, and there's on and on and on. So for every participant, they get a demographic, survey that asks the basic questions. Is this your first time on the trail? Would you return? Did you have a sense of fun and play? Did you learn something? And then we do a check-in question at every event, a check-in on one word, how are you feeling? And then a one-word checkout question. It's, again, just one word. And I have had, especially working in the eastern neighborhoods in my underserved communities in the last 2 years, that has been so powerful, just that one-word check-in. And using the feelings wheel to have people start that conversation with, feeling, unmotivated or uncertain or unsure of even what this is, and then to leave feeling hopeful, optimistic, excited. It's been such an eye-opening thing. So we keep all of that data, and that is part of our regular programming with everything we do. And then there are things that are very specifically mental health focused, and that is our trauma-informed programming. And I could do a whole thing on that, but we do that throughout the year. Not just in September for Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month, but we'll bring plays to the trail regarding mental health. We think of the trail as a venue. It's a venue for music. It's a venue for plays. It's just a space, a welcoming space for all. We'll do nature journaling. That is really impactful with that trauma-informed programming that we work on with the United Way. Is that helpful?
Very helpful. Thank you. That answers my question. Maybe
I'm having a lot of trouble hearing you. I'm so sorry.
let me turn this on here. Kendra, maybe you can send one of your surveys so I can take a look at it.
I'd be happy to. I would be happy to. Yes.
Yes, I appreciate the feeling, Will, and the idea that we're taking the temperature of folks that are attending activities before and after.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, it makes a really big difference. And again, just that check-in. And I train, our staff and volunteers that same way. We all check in. It's not just we're asking that of the participants. We all check in with our feelings, and it's really helpful. Trail is about community and it's about connection. And if we're not participating in that as well, then we're doing a disservice to the people that we serve.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Kindra. I think the information that you provided on connecting the, what was it, 29 neighborhoods, and then the percentage of people that are looking for these regional trails, I think is very important to like what we're doing here today, and a perfect segue into our next agenda item. A lot of our cities are doing individual work along different topographic features. Like Jason is going to talk about the rails trails, and then each of the cities have projects along Nolan Creek, and I think it'll be easy for us to see how that's going to connect into what can become our regional trail, and what we're kind of envisioning. So, thanks again for coming, or for presenting.
Yes, and thanks for pressing in with the generator. I mean, that's next level there.
And so with that, we have Jason Deckman presenting an update on the City of Temple's Rails to Trail project.
Oh, here you go.
She's going to bring up my slides. All right, good morning. I'm going to give a brief update. Kindra, you're going to be a tough act to follow. But we do have a small trail that we are getting built. It's been a while. There's active trail construction happening today. That's taken a minute to get there. So this is how.
I was curious about our timeline. She said 30 years. You did further our timeline.
Well, there's the piece and then there's the whole thing. Okay, we'll get to that. So how did we get here? First, we had to go through the abandonment process for the rail right of way, funding for the trail project. There's work to be done on the historic railroad bridge at the Leon River. And then there's the concept of future connections that I think that's where we're going. So we purchased the railroad back in 2010. And what we purchased was the ability to run trains down those lines. We didn't own the property in the sense that you normally own it. So there's a process, you have to go through the federal government, through the Surface Transportation Board, to abandon that line and convert it over to a trail, or just abandon it and sell the property. We hired a law firm that specializes in that kind of thing. And in January 21, we got the notice that you can proceed with converting this to a trail. An interesting sidebar was the Department of Justice administers that program when a rail line is abandoned because of the way railroads were created 100 some years ago. People's land was just taken. So if you live next to the rail line, or if you can show that your family would have owned that land, it could have been inherited and passed down to you, you can make a claim. If the city's abandoning the rail but converting it to a trail, there's a claim and there's a fund that the federal government, so the city didn't have to pay the claims. They did receive 60 claims. I never heard how many of them actually got paid, but when that notice was published in the Federal Register, these law firms that keep track of these things, they posted some advertisements, put out a press release, went down and talked to them to learn how that process works. So very much like if you get into an accident and you retain a lawyer and you sue the drunk driver that hit you and they get a settlement, the lawyer keeps a percentage of that settlement. They work on that same model. So they will help you pursue the claim, do all the paperwork and the legwork to get you some money for that property that otherwise could have maybe reverted back and your backyard could have extended another 20 or 50. So as those claims are settled, we can proceed with construction. So we came to MPO, did secure funding for the first phase, which is between South 5th Street and South 31st Street. This has been a project of sequencing and synchronization. This has been why it has been a long time coming, because there's multiple things taking place in here. So Triangle Tract, which is a townhouse mixed-use development, that dash triangle on 31st Street, they were moving forward with their residential commercial development. They needed to tie into sewer and water lines. That meant they needed to come across the railroad right away. We also had a big water main transmission line that we were working on designs in different segments. Since they were going to be tearing up that portion, the city manager's office came to a development agreement with them for reimbursement. If you're going to be doing your construction and grading and tearing everything up, go ahead and put in that section of the water line while everything's dug up. What that meant was we had to push the trail project back a good year and a half. I think it's gone on 2 years until that could be complete. It wouldn't make any sense to spend the one-time federal grant on a trail just to tear it up to build a water line. So that water main is complete and it came in under budget. So what you see on the bottom, that exhibit, that private developer is building that portion of the trail for us. There was money left in of what we had budgeted for the water main project. We said, let's amend the development agreement. And they're building that piece right now. Again, they're still doing the grading for the drainage, the flood control. So while it's tore up, get the trail put in. So that's the part that's being built right now. And you'll see that as it reaches 31st Street, it veers off. Our project is going to build the pedestrian crossing going across. We're not going to run the pedestrians diagonally across the way the rail runs. We're going to have a 90-degree with flashers. There'll also be a pedestrian refuge in the middle, so you don't have to sprint across 5 lanes of South 31st Street traffic that's posted, I think, 45, but we know they go faster. Yeah. So we want to give the pedestrians a safe way to get across. So that will tie into some of the sidewalks that TxDOT had built a few years ago. And you see on the edge, they're going to flare it out. They're going to have a nice little kind of focal point, and then a couple sidewalks, side paths that tie into that commercial and the townhouse development. One of the amenities that you should be able to get to is our city library is moving forward with their first annex. There'll be a south branch of the Temple Library that'll be right off of the trail.
In the triangle development?
In the triangle, yes, sir.
Wow.
Yep.
What's that cross street? Just try to orientate. First.
There's not a lot of good cross streets in the area. It's as you come up from 93, there's a kind of office, car wash, retail, hair salon development on the right. And there's some other neighborhoods that are now Legacy Ranch on the left. As you come closer to where the rail crosses, you have the Deerfield neighborhood on the right. Then you cross the railroad, still a few more residential neighborhoods, and then you hit the big S curve. So it's just south of the big S curve, if that helps.
I'll take a picture of myself there and see. I'll send it to you. Tell me.
There's a Meadow Oak Baptist Church that has a big pumpkin sale. Meadow Oak Baptist Church has a big pumpkin sale every year. It's just north of it. You can't miss the construction of the Triangle Center. They've got some modern sculpture out in their parking lot. That's just
right.
north of the trail.
Temple, the city of fun-shaped metal sculptures. There's one of them right there.
They're cool. I like them.
So So back to the development agreement, it came in about $1.3 million under budget, so they're taking that $1.3 million, which is then money that we didn't have to budget for the grant and the trail and the local match. There is more work that's gonna be done besides what the local match covers, but that's in the budget. If you go up the South Fifth Street side, again, sequencing and making the budget work. A couple of years ago, we had a drainage project for Friars Creek, and they were gonna have to tear up the old railroad culverts because they could put it into the drainage budgets that tore that out and put those arched truss bridges. So again, that was a piece that could be done. Let's get it done while we can do it ahead of the trail. So it's kind of made us look silly because we built a bridge to nowhere. But it made sense to do it at the time without having to wait or spend other pots of money. So the grant funded portion, start from the triangle and go over, as you see on the top, where that park is, near the water park. We're gonna go out for bids next month, and then construction should start in January. They're saying 12, maybe a little bit longer. I know it's Temple, we say 12 months, it's probably 18, Craigly. I know. I will call my own fouls. So cross your fingers that this moves very quickly. And then we have the second phase, which is also funded through the MPO. And this will pick up where phase one ends. So you see on the right where the Deerfield, the Anthony's Crossing, and Bellaterra. It'll proceed west from there, come down towards 93, not quite, but probably you could see it from the Christian school. And then it goes all the way over to the Leon River where the historic bridge is. So we applied for and got 3.5 million. The project's gonna cost more than that. But it was a case of, we've got some money to do something. And what we're working on now is, what does that scope look like? Can we find the additional funding for the entire trail and include the truss bridge renovation? Does that get pulled out and become a different project? It is in our capital improvement program, the 26 to 31 budget plan is funded for FY27. So starting about a year from now, it'll be in the budget. And we'll see where that goes. There's some of the Bellaterra neighborhoods being built out. Third phase is right there about where the trail makes a bend. There's a street that cuts across. There'll be a trail crossing. There may be development happening on that strip along 93 that will allow that Bellaterra neighborhood to punch out. So that's one of the things that we've been talking with that engineer, is ensuring that there's still that safe trail crossing as private development expands.
Jason, how many miles is phase one?
It's gonna be 1.8, don't quote me on that.
Okay, that's all right. But what about phase two? You know?
You know, I should know this off the top of
That's
my
okay.
head.
I'm just curious to know
I
like the
didn't look
total
at it.
phase.
The whole thing is just a little over 4. And phase 2 is longer. I used to have it memorized, and right now I'm drawing a blank, I apologize.
And do you know how many subdivisions it crosses, the whole project? That's 4 miles?
Probably about a dozen. If you go back on, and it depends on, how big there's a bunch of smaller ones, Siltstone, the Friars Bend, and along that Friars Creek where Hartford Bluff makes that bend. There's several small subdivisions and neighborhoods all through there.
Just trying to think like Kindra was thinking, like how many subdivisions it crosses and how many points of workforce communities that people could actually walk to.
It'll be big if you can cross 31st Street. That connects to 3 or 4.
Right.
On the west side of 31st Street.
And will it cross over by Baylor Scott and White Hospital as well? No?
The hospital or north of
Of this?
yeah.
We've got a big gap where Loop 363 passes between this trail and we call it the Deckman district, Scotland White and Temple College. You don't have a great bike pedestrian passage across the loop north-south, right? But the trail is all but connected.
Please skip ahead.
Oh, that looks pretty.
So this looked better on my computer screen with the projectors here. So you see the green and the blue is our funded piece of the trail. The yellow is various sidewalks in the area. There is the Friars Creek Trail that runs along South Fifth Street. But like Keller said, it gets up to 363, just the other side of Temple College, and it dead ends. You don't have a great way getting across that bridge at Fifth Street. Doesn't have any sidewalks. But there's some other pieces of the trail that you see, that brown, where the South First Street label is. There's some other trails that, you know, we can just start closing gaps. That may be the 30-year project. And the other part is going west from the end of our trail into Belton. Now the city of Temple owns the rail right away, but really it would be a Belton project. And we've met with them to figure out, you know, different ways to get through their industrial area down to 93 and I-35 and how to get across 35. Can we get a spur trail that would go up to the bend of the river park? The city hosts multiple events there over the years, so having that be a destination. There's also some residential, single-family townhouse development going on in there, so providing them access down to the trail. TxDOT just came out with schematics for the I-35 expansion. And they're showing a redesign of that bridge at Central, or not Central, 6th. Well, the whole thing's getting redesigned, but there's very narrow sidewalks on that bridge now. Technically, you could walk across it, you won't have a good time. So the redesign does show sidewalks on both sides and sidewalks down along the frontage road that would connect to the Heritage Park down on Gnome Creek. That then ties into a bigger part of the trail system that could come up to UHB. We could tie across possibly to Highway 317. There's some sidewalks on the north end of 317 once you get past the commercial area here in Belton. Cross the river by Miller Springs. So this is an early part of a more integrated trail system for Temple, Belton, points west towards, you know, Nobleville and Harker Heights eventually. But we're only able to build small pieces of it at a time. So there's still a lot of work to be done. And go back real quick, let's get past it. So that's the historic bridge. It is on the National Register. Walked out there with an engineer who specializes in bridge restructure or renovations. And you can see in the lower right-hand photo, a lot of the ties are rotten and the steel is in good shape. The stone, for the most part, is in good shape. There's a couple spots that he pointed out that, you know, you might need to fix up the mortar. But as he pointed out, when they built these for railroads, they were built to carry freight trains. And they, back 100 years ago, they built them this last 100 years. It is built to last. It is in good condition. Doesn't require a lot of structural renovation. We just need to clean up the deck and, you know, build more of a pedestrian bridge across it. But the existing steel structure would handle that, not a problem. That would be the end of Temples, and that's where we jump off into.
That'd be a magnet if you could cross the river, make a turnaround loop. I think that would draw a lot of people.
Yeah. And one of the Temple, or excuse me, Belton did have, go back to, during the last MPO project called, Belton did bring a project forward. It scored well, but Sam Listy declined and let's not fund it right away. because at that point we'd started getting the word that town halls were happening for the 35 expansion. And agree with them, just like us with the water line. Let's not use grant money to build a trail that the state is then going to tear out bridge. Let's see if we can sync that up. So if that's a discussion that we had with the I-35 expansion, how do we, first we got to figure out where does the trail touch I-35, and then work with TxDOT. How do we get it across? Where do we tie it in? You've got sidewalk project down 6th. You've got the trails in the park. So more moving pieces a few years down the road before there's funding for that.
Absolutely.
Right now, you can cross under I-35 on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Will that still be possible with the proposed renovation?
I think so. I've been looking at the schematics, but I haven't looked at that section as closely as I have with lieutenant size. This is an early schematic. I mean, this is where the public involvement starts, and they can start working with, the eminent domain process. If there's sidewalks that can be added, this is the time to have that conversation. So it's taken us a while to get here, but we are building the trail. It's taken us a few years, but we are building it.
Jason, have you been involved with this project from the beginning?
Pretty much. They bought the trail, or they bought the railroad before I started. But then we took and do a couple different grant opportunities. Once, even before we started the abandonment process. And it was, we tried it through the TxDOT Transportation Alternatives Program, didn't make the cut there. Finally then made the cut through the KTMPO. And that funding source changed a couple times over the years as budgets were shifting.
Has the cuts in federal funding affected?
No, because we already had a contract. We had the agreement with TxDOT for that funding. And when they started doing the decisions earlier this year, that everybody got real nervous.
Yeah.
And the answer that we've been given and they've held to so far is if there's already a contract in place to do the designs and receive the funding, then that funding won't be touched. We get started, we release the bids here next month, then I think I'll prove the true side.
As we all will.
You know, Jason, about rail banking in this area? Are there other rails that are disused and suitable for development as rail trails?
That's the only one that I'm aware of. I know I looked at doing a photo project that I never started. There's some rail lines that run out from Cove towards Lampasas in that area. There's a famous trestle bridge that near Lano that everybody goes out in the spring and they take. If you've seen the photos of the blue bonnets and the rail trestle, that's the one in Lano. So there's some rail lines out that way that are not being used. I don't know if they've been abandoned or considered private property. And in Bell County, I'm not aware of any of them.
Jason, there's a question online.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, hi. It's Kindra again. We have power, which is great. Super exciting. But I just heard you say rail banking, and I'm still having a little trouble hearing you, but I did hear rail banking, and I was able to go to the Rails to Trails Trail Nation Summit a couple weeks ago, and that actually came up, and I don't know if it's all on your radar. It wasn't on mine, but there's an active push to undo that bill, that legislation that was enacted to have rail banking in place. So I don't know if you all are following that, but we're getting ready to do a big push to our local to our state senators and delegates to make sure that this is on their radar, that this does not get undone, because it could tie us up in bureaucratic red tape for forever, and these amazing opportunities could you know be eliminated. So if you go to the Rails to Trails site, there's specific information about how to advocate for this at your state level.
No, thanks for letting me know. I'll have to look at that. And that's what we did was the rail banking. That the technical legal term is a notice of interim trail use. The legality is if, for whatever national security reason, someone needed to run a train down, we would have to be able to bring it back. Good luck doing that, but that's the rail banking is that they'll allow you to convert it to a trail, but the right of way would remain. If you had to lay new rails, theoretically you could. So yeah, there's legislation that, because that is a buzzword for the current administration, is everything is being done under the guise of national security.
Yeah, that's correct. My understanding is they are actively working to eliminate that as an option at all. So at the at the very least, it would tie things up for years and years and generations, so that there would make having any type of trail in a rail right of way nearly impossible. So it's on our radar now, and we're working what we can do. Yeah, thanks.
We're going to try to spend some of that federal money and do good for the people in this. And I'll button my lip before I say something that gets everybody in trouble.
Thank you.
Right, well, I think that these agenda items are stacked up. Good job.
Thank you.
Now, Anita's gonna go into our regional active transportation plan, so.
Thank you. Well, it's been a long time coming, everyone. Just to review our objectives, we want to develop a comprehensive GIS-based inventory to support the creation of a regional active transportation plan, utilizing public engagement, the TAC policy board, and ATAC to prioritize desired connectivity. And the ultimate purpose is to demonstrate plan readiness and improve our grant competitiveness. Drafting the content. Inside your packet, there's a table of contents. I encourage you to look at it. And if there's something missing, please send me an email and we'll add it in. A lot of the content inside of the table of contents overlaps, but I do believe it'll give us a great framework of our next steps. Also, I'm going to turn this portion over to Callie about project scoring, because originally we had a big push on the plan regarding project scoring. And so there's been some transitions. Go ahead with that, Callie.
Right, so currently the TAC and Policy Board, in preparation for our upcoming project call, are reevaluating the project scoring process and criteria, and there hasn't been any major action made on that yet. So once the Policy Board comes down with a decision on how they'd like to go through with the project scoring criteria and just the process in general, then we can better incorporate how ATAC can provide input to them. We just need to wait that process out till we have some concrete information there.
Does anyone have questions about that for Callie? Gary, Jason, y'all been involved in project scoring in the past?
Make it simpler.
It's pretty complicated.
I think that might be the plan, right?
Right, that's why we're reevaluating it, just to, see what we can do most efficiently for everyone.
Thank you, Callie. I'll check out the table of contents. We're gonna base it on the bylaws and on policy, surveys and parks, and I've got section titles. Number 1 is regional active transportation background and history, and then the actual chapter title, trying to keep it a little bit with our Western flair. I mean, we are in Texas after all. Where the trail begins, a look back at the roads that shaped our region. Section 2 would include insights from surveys and parks and recreation master plans. The title is going to be Gathering the Grit, Local Wisdom from the Heart of Texans. That's really like, that breaks it down that this is a plan for our people, our community, our cities, connecting us all. We'll be using the Safe Streets and Roads for All engagement summary, the 2017 survey reflections, the current survey highlights that we had earlier in the fall, and then, of course, all the Parks and Recreation Master Plan integrations. And I know that y'all are working on a master plan right now for the city of Belton.
Yes, ma'am, we just closed our citizen survey, so we're putting all that together. Really coming out of that was a push for indoor recreation center, so we've added a feasibility study into our master plan, and that'll, I think my director's coming January, February timeframe to brief everyone on that.
Yes, we'll add that to the agenda as well. Thank you. And section 3 is going to be best practices, and of course we'll be highlighting the Elizabeth Trail Foundation, because that is a best practice and takeaways. And the chapter title for that would be Blazing New Trails for Central Texas, what that really looks like for us. Chapter 4 is the collaboration and funding. Section 4, excuse me, with the title Harnessing the Herd, the Trails as Catalyst for Health and Outdoor Investment Strategies. And we might have to add in indoor as well, since y'all are doing that feasibility study. There'll be policy and community support. All of our resolutions that ATAC endorses will be a part of that. The Texas Trails Day, Unplug Texas, Pedestrian Safety Month. Almost everything that we really get involved in, I want to include it in here to show how it's not just a city, it truly is a regional effort, this plan. And then the local resolutions, when we do a regional resolution, hopefully the cities are also doing local resolutions. So if you represent a city or a county, taking that back to them to have them endorse a proclamation or a resolution during the same time frame would really help solidify us as a one voice regional effort. And then the health integration and wellness partnerships. This is something that was not originally in the plan, but after hearing Kindra speak the first time with, at AMPO, I was like, well, this just totally makes sense that we would think about health, mental health, and outdoor activities as a component to our regional active transportation plan. So I've added that in. And then we had another great idea from you, Ryan, talking about the Blue Zone principles. That's another health aspect. And then just integrating school-based wellness initiatives. And we have several major hospitals in the area, and any type of maybe employee program that they might have that improves wellness. And also any industry that has wellness programs that they're advocating for their employees to be a part of. Include those types of theories and ideas into the plan. And then moving down to the federal and state grants, and well, I won't spend too much time there. Trail tourism and economic development as Great Springs Project and the Red Line Initiative. I'm going to also be working on the Red Line Initiative spokesperson to come and speak to us in February. Are y'all familiar with that? That's coming out of downtown Austin to Cedar Park area. And that is, I think that's a Rails to Trails project as well. And that started off as a small nonprofit, much like the Elizabeth River Trails, and they've garnered the goodwill of the state, and so they're getting funding from all types of different sources. And then, of course, adding in private and philanthropic support. I just loved how Elizabeth River Trails connected with United Way. That was something I'd never thought of doing. What a great approach to wellness, social determinants of health. So just expanding opportunity for funding. And of course, as y'all review these table of contents, we have a lot of the information. The plan, I don't think is going to be that giant until we incorporate all of the regional plans. But these were all these sections that we talk about and use as a pinpoint to connect us all together. So if you see something that's not on here that needs to be, please email me.
Thanks for that. I just want to point out one thing. I know we're not spending a lot of time on each of the sections, but this plan could be valuable, especially to the smaller cities who might not have their own master plans. Because especially for the Texas Parks and Wildlife grants, if you have an adopted plan, it counts for more points towards your application. And so even though it's not theirs specifically, they can do a resolution to adopt it.
Okay.
And submit that for the points.
So we can add that in.
Same for Bell County, since Bell County doesn't have, any type of recreation or open space plan, they could adopt this plan for submitting applications.
That's a very important point.
So there's just a couple of key items that need to be in it, and I can share that
Yes,
with you.
yes, that would be perfect. We'll highlight that
And encourage them to,
to adopt it.
Yeah.
That's excellent information. Does anyone online have anything they would like to contribute? David, TxDOT, anything?
Hey, Anita, Daniel here. No, nothing at the moment. No, no worries. So just to inform you, Rachel Perry has actually moved on to a different department. And so I know I was originally her backup, and so I'll be taking on that lead role until we get her position replaced.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'm sorry, I know it's Daniel. I couldn't read the writing.
No, no worries.
Thank you for that information, Daniel. We'd like to do an addition to public transit beside the plan, James. And I know that public transit is under an overhaul, so I'm going to really be leaning on you to make sure that we give these items an honorable mention and connect them to the right portions of the plan. Even though there's a lot of transitions, I still want to include them as we move forward. So any ideas that you have, feel free to share them.
Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
Thank you, James. And here's the updated plan. By December the 10th, I'm going to be emailing out a paper copy for y'all to review. And the 30-day final public comment period will begin on December the 15th through January the 12th. We'll have a meet and greet open house style that's still to be determined, along with the formal meeting followed by an open house. That's still up for grabs. Anybody want to sponsor that or host it, feel free. January 7th and the 21st of 2026, the TAC and Policy Board will be reviewing the plan. February the 11th, that's our next meeting. And y'all will make a recommendation for adoption pending any amendments that you would like to have to the plan. And then February the 4th would be the TAC and Policy Board recommend plan adoption. So we are coming to a close here, even though it seems like it's been a long time. It has.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a great plan because of everybody's input. And there's the QR code to the digital map. If you're interested, we've been sharing that. It's also in the link in the email if you want to go back and review it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. It's I like the uniqueness of the format and some of the quirky titles and stuff. Yeah, I think that's going to make it fun and interesting. So
Oh, can I just add something? If y'all don't like the titles or you want to adjust them, feel free to. I just thought, it's a government document, it's a plan, yes, but let's keep a little bit of our heritage along the way as we move forward into 2026.
I like it. All right, so our next discussion is to review the public input through October 25th, or 2025.
Thank you. So we've been collecting public comments. October was a quiet month for us, so we had 0 comments, 0 amendments, 0 plan updates, but we're holding strong at 151 overall public comments. And majority of those comments do come through our amendments that the policy board holds.
All right. At this time, we're going to do a staff update regarding meeting schedule, federal updates, webinars, and air quality. And the presenter is Callie.
All right, so here you'll see the upcoming ATAC meeting schedule for the months of November and December respectively. Our meeting schedule kind of winds down, then we pick back up again with ATAC and Policy Board in January. And then, of course, the next ATAC meeting is going to be February 11th. If you want to go to the next slide. Okay. Yeah, so again, this is the TAC will be on January 7th, Policy Board on the 21st, and then after that, regularly the TAC's on the first Wednesday, Policy Board's on the 3rd. And the parts per billion for the city of Temple in September was 66, and it was 60 in Killeen. And then as far as federal updates, of course, breaking news, the government is shut down, and maybe there will be an end in sight in that, but that does remain to be seen. So currently KTMPO, we're still up and running as normal, and of course, if that changes, we'll let all of our committees and our members know. I think as far as that goes, that's about the biggest things we have right now. We're kind of gearing up for the next year now, kind of seeing the end of this FY25, and before we know it, we'll be jumping right into 26. So.
Right, at this time, are there any member comments?
I want to do a shameless plug for Baltimore Parks and Rec. They're doing a blow ride that's going to start in Liberty Park on November 21st. They'll have glow in the dark, all sorts of fun things to do. And it'll go from Liberty Park all the way to MLK. That's a dead end at UMHB and then turn back around. And it's just it's an event to highlight the trail. A lot of free things for kids and families, and just get people out and active.
What's the date again on it?
November 21st.
A question on the stakeholders thing. The list of projects that are meets projects for like bike month and stuff like that. Would stuff like that fall into that stakeholders list of stuff to do? Because I know Bucks on Main is sponsored by the city of Temple. They do, it's not. No.
No, we are.
Jason's brainchild, I think.
JD and Weston Taylor.
Right. Okay, so the Belton thing, they also do other things to sponsor. Would that be part of the stakeholders project list?
Yes, the purpose of the stakeholders project list is to try to connect the national recognition of an event to a local activity. So like if that bike ride was in May, then I would recommend including it, because it would be part of, let's get out on our bikes and do something great. So Unplug Texas, any events that are going to be outdoors at any park or anything, just, get off our phones and let's get outdoors. That would be something that we would want to highlight. The scope of trying to take every activity and if it's not related to a national event, could become quite overwhelming, thank you, overwhelming for the KTMPO staff, but highlighting the specific activities that are taking place during a national event. It sort of like casts a good vision for us nationally, regionally, locally, and then individually.
Like that Ride a Bike Day on May 3rd, I was thinking like the bicycle shop should totally take advantage of that by, hey, come test ride some bikes on this segment of trail or whatever. I would do that.
Yeah.
Especially electric bike. I would. But,
Do you have some other thoughts on that, Gary?
Oh, no.
Well, I just want to thank Anita for, bringing forth a really robust agenda that exciting to be a part of, and appreciate the time you put in to make that happen. When is our next meeting?
Yes, it should be
February 11th.
February 11th. And of course, great things don't happen without great people support. So shout out to Callie and Ashlyn
So
getting
between,
us across the finish line.
okay, so between now and then, you're gonna be looking at your calendars to support those events that she mentioned earlier, and looking through the table of contents to see if there's some aspect that needs to be added. And,
I think at our last meeting, we talked about trying to connect with the area trauma council. Did you have any luck on coordinating with them?
Yes, I think that you were originally involved in all those emails that I sent out, but I couldn't get anything to transpire. I can follow up again. I think they had maybe some staff transitions. I'll have to go back and look at my email to exactly remember, but I just remember that I was redirected several times, and so I can follow up on that one more time.
We also talked about including a report at each meeting about pedestrian and cyclist injuries and fatalities. That would have to come from either local law enforcement or that trauma council.
Right, and I think that Jason, you're part of the SS4A safety team, right? So do you have access to any insight or anything like that on how we could grab a hold of that?
So we can go into either the Ashtonware or the Chris platform and pull, say, rough data. I would have to work with the police department, which I've done for some bar, is to pull the crash report, whether that's a redacted or unredacted version. It shows you the officer's narrative. It's one thing when they code it in, you get that dot on the map that says DUI, speeding, failure to yield, but then you read the narrative, there's a little bit more nuance sometimes. Or maybe the failure to control speed was driver one, drunk driving was number two, and the two vehicles collided. And try to determine, is one more at fault than the other, and then what can be done to prevent it in the future. You start to get into the weeds looking at the narratives, but that's where the real information is. And that's got to come through PD.
We could at least look at the incidents of pedestrian injury.
And I can definitely add it
Yeah.
to the agenda as a standing item. And when we hear about those types of things, if y'all see something, say something to me, and then I can reach out to that local police department to see if they would be willing to give a report. And sometimes because of the data, it might even be 6 months out, correct, Jason?
It depends on how quickly the investigation gets completed, and then the report is available in that database. Just like if you've been in an accident, your insurance company's beating your door down, waiting on the officer to release the report. If it's a fatality, typically there's a longer amount of time for that report to be.
I'll definitely add it and do research how we can keep the information coming to us.
And I did, and I presented that, I think, at the last, or the one before the SS4A meeting. I did just that, did a query for pedestrian fatalities, Temple, 5 or 6 on 35. And
One of them was someone who car broke down and they tried to hoof it across the highway. Two were someone who was intoxicated, high on drugs, whatever, and then tried to run from the vehicle or run from the cops and just darted out into traffic. Been a lot of come on those. There was very few. There was one up by Bucky's that, you know, somebody may have broke down and was trying to work on the car, and they were in an area that the streetlights didn't give coverage, so maybe the driver that struck them just didn't see the pedestrian. But just the one we had here a few weeks back, where it was the 18-wheeler. You know, the guy just ran out, and they said they didn't get the 18-wheeler to stop until the other side of Salado. If the guy hit the side of the truck, the driver may not have even known that he struck somebody. He gets sucked under the wheels. But a lot of those, and I hate to sound like I'm pointing the finger, but a lot of the pedestrian fatalities on 35 are due to the choice the pedestrian made. You could say that. And that's the reason Killeen put that barrier down I-14 between the mall and Academy and that stretch, because they had so many incidents of people trying to run across. Now, is there another better good way for people to get from one side of the interstate to the other if you're not in a car? The answer is no. There's really no other good way. So the bad choice is the only choice. But they're trying to discourage even the bad choice by putting that barrier in the middle. Looking at Temple, there's areas where a barrier wouldn't make any difference, and it's not going to change. Where you've got the elevated frontage road, these are people who are getting out of their cars, so barrier in the middle, that's not Temple. There's no, for the ones I looked at, there really wasn't an easy easement.
All right. Is there anybody online that wants opportunity to say something before we adjourn? With that, I think we're ready for a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.